There's so much pressure on moms when the kids are young. And, most of us are working out of the house, not everybody, but even if you're not working out of the house, it is a full-time job. Life is just rushed. And I think one of the biggest guilt trips as a mom we put on ourselves is that we're not doing enough. Maybe, like my son wanted the same breakfast every morning, and I felt guilty about that.
Was it a healthy breakfast at least?
I'm going to ask Jill that right now, because it always seemed healthy because it was a cereal, and I understand cereals are a good thing. That's what a lot of the nutritionists do feed
But they
their
can
kids.
be packed with sugar though, right?
That's it. He wanted every morning, still to this day, Cracklin' Oat Bran. Tell us what you think, because that sure sounds healthy, but I know if it's
Yeah, that's the
it's
thing.
got to be a little
It's got
sugary.
oat in there, so it's a little bit of a misnomer, isn't it?
Right. There are a lot of kind of marketing approaches that companies will take, and I address that a lot in the book. And as Robin was saying, when I asked nutrition experts what they feed their kids for breakfast, the number one choice was cereal.
Phew.
Well,
So they're not making omelets, and not necessarily.
This actually, surprisingly to me, the second most common response was eggs.
Okay.
That wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
As a working mom and 3 kids to get out the door, it's pretty much cereal for us, and it works because your 2-year-old can eat it. Adults can eat it, so it's a meal that works for the whole family, as long as you're choosing carefully.
Okay, how'd I do? It's okay, you can say what you want to say.
well, it depends on how much sugar was sprinkled on top and what
There
type of milk
wasn't.
you use.
There
No,
wasn't.
it's just straight out of the box. Okay.
Right. So there are all kinds of variations, and one of the things that I've included in the book is what I call Jill's best picks and worst picks. So there's a list of here are cereals that are low in sugar, and here are cereals that are low in sugar and high in fiber. So there are a lot to choose from, and here are the worst picks because they're so high in sugar.
Is Cracklin' Oat Bran on worst picks?
It's actually not on either list, interestingly
Okay.
enough.
Oh,
And
so you're neutral.
the other thing that I do is give criteria. So if you're looking for a cereal that's not on the list, ideally you want it to be less than 6 grams of sugar and at least 2 or 3 grams of fiber. So depending on where you are in the country, the
Per
cereals
serving,
may be
right?
different. Per serving.
Okay, see,
And that's the thing,
because you look at the box of Cheerios or whatever cereal you get, and it says 16 servings per container, 20 servings per container, but I swear in 3 days it's done.
Absolutely.
And so that means I must be having 3 or 4 servings at a time. And is that something that moms struggle with all the time? Because kids eat a lot.
Well, and that's where I think that sugar starts to make a very big difference, because if you have a cereal that says it has 12 grams of sugar per serving, that's 3/4 of a cup. A 4-year-old might be eating that, but I can tell you my 14-year-old isn't eating 3/4 of a cup. They're really eating 1.5 cups or more. So they're really getting 24, 30, 32 grams of sugar.
Wow.
Which again, what does that translate into? Every 4 grams is a teaspoon of sugar. So if you're getting 24 grams of sugar, that's really six teaspoons, up to as much as 8 or 10 teaspoons of sugar to start the day.
Ooh, it's no wonder they're crashing at 11 o'clock. What's the number one cereal then that you recommend?
Well, nutrition experts want to venture a guess. What's the number one cereal?
I mean, I'm not a nutrition expert, but I'm flattered that you pointed at me to ask. But I would say something like Cheerios. It doesn't have any sugar. It's kind of, the less good tasting cereals. Not to say Cheerios doesn't taste good, but it's not as good as a Frosted Flakes or a Cinnamon Toast Crunch with kids to love.
Ding, 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 ding. You
Cheerios?
got it right. Hey,
Where's my prize?
I'll give you a book.
There we go.
So yeah, it's low in sugar and it's a good source of fiber. So it's a great combination. Your 2-year-old can pick them up one at a time, and adults can eat it too.
That's
Okay, but here's the trick. I've never been a mother, obviously, but how do you get your kids to fall in love with Cheerios? Is it just never presenting them that Cracklin' Oat Bran or the sweeter type of cereals to where they don't develop a taste for it? Because, yeah, ideally, I think every mother would probably love their kids to eat spinach and lettuce and Cheerios and, all the lean and fiber-packed foods. But how do you get them to develop a taste for Cheerios?
I think there are a couple of different strategies. You could mix a couple cereals together, so one that does have a little more sugar, but when you mix them together, it's not going to be as high in sugar. You can choose cereals that do have a little bit of sugar, so things like Kix or Life. Honey Bunches of Oats. They're still within that guideline of not higher than 6 grams of sugar, but maybe more appealing. Or things even like the multi-grain Cheerios, they don't sound like they're going to be tasty, but they actually do have a little more sugar in them than the plain ones do.
How about Honey Nut Cheerios?
It's quite a bit higher, so that would be a perfect
Those are so
example
good.
of
Yeah, they're
mixing
good.
the Honey Nut Cheerios with the plain. You've cut the sugar in half.
Oh, that's very good.
But you
Ooh,
still
I like
get
it.
that sweet. And then there are some moms who, I again say in the book, you got to pick your battles. And you were describing your son. That may not be a battle worth choosing.
Yeah.
That if he eats a fruit with it and gets milk,
Oh, yeah.
you've gotten
Yeah.
3 food groups at that breakfast. You're sending them off to start their day fueled. And what all studies show is kids concentrate better, they have better focus, and they perform better academically if they've had breakfast.
That's
I wouldn't battle that
What
one.
about milk? It's so controversial now, you know?